Hi there, I'm Sheen, and welcome back to the shop. Say you've just finished up a major project, like a wonderful table or a cabinet, and you have these smaller pieces left over. Inevitably, as woodworkers, we always have scraps and cut-offs. And usually they're too small to make any furniture or cabinet part with. So a great project to use these is an edge grain cutting board. So today I'm going to show you how to make an edge grain cutting board out of these smaller pieces, and I'm going to show you how to do it completely with the Festool system. Normally I would use a table saw, planer, and jointer to do these things, but not everyone has the space for a stationary table saw or a stationary planer. So the advantage of the Festool system is that you can use these on the job site, and you can also use them in a shop setting to make smaller projects. So I'm going to show you how to cut the small strips for the edge grain cutting board with the Festool track saw system. Then we'll surface the board with Rotex RO150 sander. And finally, we'll do some edge trimming with the OF1010. So come on, let's get started. Here's an example of an edge grain cutting board. You'll notice that it's made out of multiple strips, thin strips, and this is black walnut. And if you turn it to the end, you'll see that the grain is facing vertically. Let's take a look at the end of our board here. Now, this is a regular flat sawn board. You notice the grain runs this way, horizontally, parallel to the face of the board. The wood moves the most in this direction, okay, across the grain. And so what we want to do is make it into small, thin pieces so to minimize that movement. In this direction, the wood moves about half as much. So when you turn it on edge and glue a whole bunch of these strips together, the board will be a lot more stable, and it'll last a lot longer, especially with a cutting board where there's a lot of moisture change. You'll be washing it and cutting things on it, so it's best to make it in the edge grain orientation. Here we have the MFT3 and the standard guide rail. So there's two ways that you could make a thin strip. You could make it on the offcut side, which means that it's the piece you want to keep is to the right of the splinter guard, or you could have it under the splinter guard and set out have the offcut over here, and you would keep what's here. Now the difficulty of this method is that when you need to be able to clamp or secure the stock here. You see, it's kind of, there's the splinter guard does hold, but having nothing here makes it kind of risky when you're cutting it, especially when it becomes a narrow piece. The difficulty with making it on the offcut side is that eventually you're going to be cutting with barely anything supported on this side, and that doesn't make for a very safe cut, and it won't necessarily stay square either because there's nothing backing here. So another difficulty of this is that there's no way to consistently set your stock out so that you keep getting the same amount on the offcut side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an auxiliary fence. The auxiliary fence in my case is just going to be a piece of plywood. I've got a straight edge here that I've sawn already. So what I have to do is just square this off. And I'm just going to make sure that this end is square to this edge. So to do that, we'll just go ahead and place the track saw on the track and we'll make the cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over so that our edge that these are squared to is going to be on this side here. And so we know that this is going to make a cut parallel to the kerf mark. So wherever I position this board, that's where the stock will butt up to. And you'll see that wherever I put this, I have a scale here, but you don't necessarily have to have a scale. You just need to set it to a point that you want how much stock to be. You can measure it out. But in this case, I got 30 millimeters, which is my desired thickness of the cutting board. I'm just going to butt the stock up to here. So you'll see each strip, each time, this is repeatable. I can come in, and it'll take 30 millimeters off. Now I'll just clamp this board down with quick clamps. You got to make sure that your board is wide enough so it doesn't interfere with the movement of the track saw. So I've taken the stock and I've cut up the rough length at the miter saw. You can also use the MFT, it's just a standard crosscut. And with that, we'll go ahead and use our setup with the auxiliary fence here to cut the board into narrow strips like this. And then we'll lay them up and glue them together. This setup, as long as the board is under the splinter guard, it's got a backstop here to keep it from moving. And then the splinter guard will help keep this board from moving around when we cut. So let's go ahead and just cut a whole bunch of strips.